You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hello. How are you? I am doing well. Not that you asked, but I'm going to tell you. My son is in college. Fingers crossed he stays there. I feel like every college due to the virus is closing. But so far, he goes to a pretty small school. So they're handling it well. He called last night having sort of a mental breakdown with the adjustment to school. And he goes to a pretty competitive school. So bless his heart, he's struggling. He's like, I can't do this, Mom. I need to come home. And we walked him through it, and I think he's doing better today. But for those of you that went to college, it's a tough transition, isn't it? To have your kids, move away, and you're pulling away from their mental support, their physical support. Everything is different, and it's got to be really, really challenging. So my baby is growing up, but I think we're going to do good. I think we're going to get through this. And worst case scenario, okay, so he comes home and we didn't find the right fit and we need to start over and find another place for him. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to always work out the way we think it should, right? Isn't that like kind of the deal with parenting is nothing really goes according to plan and you just have to be laid back and super flexible? I think we can apply that to our marriages and our lives as well. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my life did not turn out anything of what I thought it would be when I was 13 or 14 or even 18 or 20. I mean, but I think it's way different and way better. I think it's better than it could ever be, but it was certainly incredibly challenging along the way. And I know that you guys are in a position too where you're feeling very challenged and wondering, how did you get here? And when did you, start taking a path that might have been really destructive for you? And I'm actually in the middle of writing a new program for codependency. And a lot of what I'm researching, because you guys know I'm so big into research, is a lot of these behaviors, we were not born with codependent traits. They stemmed from our childhood and the trauma that we experienced and the painful memories that perhaps our parents put us through. So it's been really, really fascinating to know that our lives kind of didn't, we think, it all started when we met the one we love and, addiction came into our lives. It actually didn't. The pain and the suffering started long before our loved ones and their addiction, was prevalent. It actually started out when we were kids, and we were sort of set up to attract or be attracted to somebody who was really ill or struggling with something. But more on that in the program. Today, we are going to talk about sex. So if you've got little ones and you are the type of parent where I just would encourage you maybe not to let them listen to this, because we're going to go there today. And I, for one, really do not find talking about sex uncomfortable. As my kids will tell you, I educate them a lot about safe sex and what sex is and what it should be and all that stuff. So we are going there. We are going all the way with sex. Not all the way, not like super detailed, but a lot of you are in relationships. And when you're in relationships, you are expected to sleep with the person that you love. That's part of being in a relationship. sex is the difference between having a friendship and having a relationship, right? It's the touching, it's the kissing, it's the sexual part. That's one of the differences. And it can be really, really difficult to be intimate with somebody who suffers from addiction. So let's talk about the obvious reasons why it could be difficult. Number one, oftentimes, not all the time, people struggling with addiction can lack self-care physically. So they let go of their looks. Perhaps they've gained weight. Maybe they're not bathing correctly. Maybe they're not shaving. Maybe they've let themselves go a little bit. And so finding them, maybe their breath smells like alcohol, or if they're addicted to specific substances, that can mess with your skin. So you can get sores on your skin, or maybe their teeth are gross because sometimes drugs does that to your teeth. I mean, if you're, inhaling or consuming a substance that is bad for your body is going to have negative consequences, right? It's going to show up. Addiction shows up physically. And so oftentimes the person that we fell in love with, the way they looked then, because this disease is progressive, they don't always look like that years later. Maybe they're too skinny, or maybe they're really overweight. I don't know. But they look different, and it can be not so attractive. Another thing that happens that nobody seems to be talking about with addiction is, this is going to be gross, guys. I'm just warning you, but oftentimes they can wet the bed. They can urinate next to the bed. They have accidents. Look, I mean, it's true. I know it's disgusting, but it is true. Having control over your, I don't know what you want to call it, bowel movements, I don't know. But it's a problem when you're intoxicated a lot. So it's really common. And in our secret Facebook group, women talk about it all the time. And so what do you do then? If somebody's wetting the bed, if a grown person is your partner is wetting the bed, how are you supposed to be intimate with somebody who does that, right? Another, again, we touched on it a little bit earlier, I mentioned it, but alcohol certainly has a smell, and it can come out of your pores. No matter how many breath mints or colognes or showers or whatever, there is a distinct smell to somebody who has been over consuming. And that's a real turnoff. It's a trigger actually for a lot of us. We smell it and we go, oof, and we have a physical reaction. So how are we supposed to be intimate with somebody when we're actually being triggered, right? So there's a lot of physical and mental issues with somebody when you love somebody suffering from addiction. For the partner, we suffer from that, and it's real, and we need to acknowledge it and go, okay, part of not enabling them anymore is not pretending that that we're not attracted to the person that we love because of the negative effects of their addiction. Like, that's part of coming to terms and being honest with ourselves. It doesn't mean we're not sexual beings and we don't have needs anymore. Maybe some of you, and I know some of you, still want to have your needs met, but not necessarily by your partner anymore. And then you're like, well, what do I do then? Because I'm denying my needs based on, their issues. And then some of you might be like completely turned off, like altogether. It's just shut down. Like the shop is closed and you have zero interest in anything with intimacy because you're in that like fight or flight mentality most of the time. You're just living with too much anxiety and too much stress due to the addiction to even get in touch with those feelings of desire or want or need. And both are okay and both are normal. And it's okay for one day to feel like completely not in touch with your sexual needs. And then it's completely okay for other days to want to be wanted, to want to be touched, to want to be caressed, to want somebody to be gentle and kind with you and show you they love you through their touch, through their body. It's a beautiful expression, and it's of love, and it's a gift that we offer people who deserve it, who have proven to us that they will take care of us, and they will treasure us. And that brings me to my next point, which is if you are with somebody who you love and they are struggling with addiction, which of course you are, because otherwise, why would you be listening to this podcast? I want to encourage you that if your partner has lied to you or manipulated you or is not getting help, I want to encourage you to maybe consider the idea of not being intimate with them. Now, when you hear that could actually be, you could react or be thinking, well, Michelle, that's kind of like isn't that being manipulative back? Like, am I holding sex over their head to force them to get better? No, I'm going to say no to that. And here's why. And again, as always, feel free to disagree with me, okay? That's okay for you to listen to this and be like, I don't think so. That doesn't ring true for me. That's awesome. Like, you have the right to own your own opinion always and follow your own opinion over mine, because you got to listen to yourself. And I'm only one person, and what I say isn't always true for everybody. There's no such thing as like blanket statements that apply to everyone. But let me explain my case. Let me make a case for why I think you should refrain from intimacy if your loved one is still lying to you or manipulating you or not seeking help to get sober for good. Or even if they are sober for good, a lot of times they're still not nice people, because there's people out there called dry drunks. So if they're sober but they're not taking care of their emotions and they're not learning how to process feelings, they're not learning coping mechanisms, and they're still being nasty or mean or depressive or angry, that's a real thing too. So sobriety isn't necessarily mean happiness. But if they are not treating you well, let's just say that, okay? I would encourage you not to be intimate with them. And intimacy can be defined as touching or kissing or having sex or hugging or anything of that sort. Anything that makes you feel vulnerable with them. Anything that makes you feel like you're offering your heart to them. I would encourage you to set a very healthy boundary to stop that behavior. Because here's why. The process of getting yourself healthy, which is what our whole entire community is about. It's the whole reason why these programs exist, is to teach you guys to stop putting so much effort into getting them sober and better and healthy, and actually take that energy and put it towards yourself so that you can become a happy, healthy person, whether they get sober or not. That's the whole entire intention behind this community, right? And part of doing that is recognizing that your vulnerability to somebody can only be offered, or should only be offered, to people who deserve to know how you feel, or what you want, or your dreams, or your desires, or your pain and your suffering. Because being vulnerable with somebody who manipulates you or uses your feelings against you, that will teach you that being vulnerable comes at a cost, right? It's not healthy behavior. And it's probably one of the reasons why you got into this relationship to begin with, is because you didn't have boundaries around your vulnerability. So getting healthy is identifying who deserves and who you can trust with your vulnerability. And intimacy, physical intimacy, is one of the greatest ways we can be vulnerable. Now, I know there's a new generation that's coming up where my kids tell me about it, where like women are putting themselves out there more physically and being a lot more forward and having more casual sex. But I still think that comes at an emotional cost. If you are truly in touch with yourself, with your soul, with your being, with your essence, with your spirit, how can you possibly offer your body and your love and your trust to somebody who's hurts you without having consequences on yourself, on your spirit, on your soul, right? I mean, it's a very, very intimate act. It's an act of love. And you should only give that act of love when it comes to intimacy with somebody who deserves it, with someone who can receive your gift and cherish it and nurture it and make you feel special and thank you for offering this gift of intimacy. That's what you really want, right? And then you want somebody to reciprocate it back to you. You don't want somebody, and I'm sorry for saying this because this is going to sound crude, but you don't want somebody who's going to, put you over a couch and close their eyes and pretend that you're somebody else and sleep with you. You want somebody who's going to look you in the eyes and tell you they love you and really look at you and look at your body, and you want somebody who's going to touch you gently and make you feel special, and who's going to hold you afterwards and tell you things like, I'm so glad that I found you, or I want to do this forever until we're old, or this just keeps getting better for us. I could never grow tired of this. There's nobody else that I'd rather do this with than you. I love you so much. You bring so much into my life. You are everything to me. I think about you even when I'm away from you. I can't wait to be in your arms again. You want to be told things like that. You don't want to be treated with disrespect. You don't want to be treated like your body is being used to meet a need of somebody else, and it doesn't matter who it is. They'll just do it just to get their needs over with and then move on and go back to lying to you and manipulating you. Because the truth is, guys, is that, and it's going to be hard to hear, if they genuinely wanted to get sober, they could. Like, it can happen. It's not impossible, right? People do it quite often. And so there's the tools out there, there's the programs, there's the education, there's the therapist, there's the meetings. All of the resources are available in this world to get sober. They have access to that. No matter what their excuses are, it doesn't matter. If they really wanted to get sober, they would. They would make the time. They would prioritize. They would stick with it. They would. So the reality is, if your loved one isn't getting sober, it's truly because they don't want to get sober yet. Maybe they will one day. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. But maybe they will. And until they do, until they're showing a real concerted effort, I just encourage you to take self-inventory and ask yourself, if you are continuing to be intimate with the one you love, and they're showing, no true, real effort of consistent sobriety, and they're lying to you and manipulating you, how do you feel afterwards? Do you feel closer to them? Do you feel used? Do you feel empty? Do you feel even more alone than before? Do you lay in bed crying, wishing that you had something different or someone different? Because if you're doing any of those things, those are real warning signs that you're not honoring your body and your soul. You're not honoring your truest part of yourself, your values and your morals, and you are lacking boundaries in areas that you need to have boundaries. And that's part of your growth, guys. You came into this relationship, as did I, because I am not here to tell you, I am perfect or I have it all together. Far, far from it. And I came into my marriage absolutely broken, needing to work on myself because I put all the effort into fixing and solving and curing and helping everybody else in my life. And that left me completely empty and not feeling validated and alone and feeling used. And so I needed to implement boundaries, and so do you. It's part of your growth. It's part of you growing into the woman that you are being called to grow into. It's part of you escaping this really painful relationship. And when I say escaping, I don't necessarily mean leaving, but I mean you stopping from feeling the pain, because that is possible. But if you're going to do it, if you're going to stop feeling pain, it's going to come with setting boundaries. And the way you set boundaries is you ask yourself, what are your values? What are your morals? What feels right for you and what feels wrong? And when it feels wrong, when your stomach hurts, when you have when you're just not feeling good about what just happened, that means there needs to be a boundary around it. Now, if you're one of these people that we talked about earlier where you're like, Michelle, I got desires, I got needs. And I know enough research to know there are certain women with higher testosterone levels that have needs. There are certain women in age groups that have needs, or maybe you're just really in touch with that side of yourself, and that is awesome. I love that for you. I'm going to go here. Okay, it's going to be kind of a bold place to go, so buckle your seatbelts. But I think, remember how we talk about in the programs about meeting your own needs, right? Okay, guys, in all areas, meet your own needs. In every area, meet your own needs, okay? Some of you get where I'm going with this. Hopefully all of you. But just in case, I'm going to say it a little, I'll spell it out a little bit more. If you are feeling the feelings and your partner is not treating you with respect and decency and love and getting sober, then go online and order yourself a tool that will help you meet your needs. Most of these websites have very discreet packaging. Get it sent to your friend's house if you're worried about that, whatever. But they actually make some very pretty ones too. There's some ones out there that are very discreet and beautiful, and they're not weird or yucky looking. And there's a whole variety, let me tell you. And you just order yourself one or two of these little gadgets, and you might never go back to the old-fashioned way. I'm just kidding. But meet your needs. And if your loved one gives you, you don't have to tell them, number one, okay? You can go in the bathroom by yourself. There'll be times where they're passed out and you can just enjoy your Friday night. But if you feel, like you need to speak your truth and say, this is what I'm doing, you don't owe anyone any apologies. Last time I checked, men have been needing their needs since they were 12, 13, or 14 years old. So why can't we? Feel free to do this without apology. If they were getting sober, you would gladly substitute them for your device. And you can say that. You can say, look, I love you, and my first choice is to be intimate with you. But I need to be intimate with somebody who I trust, who I can be vulnerable with, who I know will honor my body and myself. And I want you to get sober. I need you to get sober in order for me to do that. And until you do, because I don't want to pressure you or hold this over you, until you do get sober, I need to meet my needs. And you feel free to meet your own. And hopefully one day we can come back together and do this for each other in a loving, compassionate way. But until that happens, I'm so sorry, but this is what I need to do for myself. And it has nothing to do with, your lack of capability or, I would love for it to be with you. I would prefer it to be with you. But it makes me feel bad right now. And I don't want to feel bad anymore. I want to feel good. So that's what I would say to that. And for those of you out there that are like, well, my loved one will have a temper tantrum if I choose not to be with them. Or, they might go to other people if I refuse to sleep with them. They might turn to another woman or another man. Okay, so let me get this straight. You would rather avoid a fight or avoid somebody cheating on you by pawning out your body and letting them use you because you're afraid that they get mad or cheat on you? How does that work? How does that really make you feel? It makes you feel probably used and resentful and empty, right? That's no way to have a healthy relationship with somebody else. And it degrades you because you are way more worthy than that. And if someone is going to cheat on you because you're setting this boundary only because they have a drinking problem or drug problem and they're refusing to get help, that's ridiculous. That's holding you hostage. It's saying, okay, I'm expect you to meet all of my needs while I completely ignore yours so that I can continue to get high or drunk. And if you don't meet my needs, I'm going to sleep with somebody else because I'm still unwilling to stop getting high or drunk. How does that work? Does that sound fair to you? Because that's the position that they're putting you in. If somebody's going to cheat on you because you're taking a time out from being intimate with them because they refuse to get sober, then they were going to cheat on you long before that. And they're not worth a relationship or marriage, period. You got to reevaluate your relationship if they're going to go outside of your marriage or your relationship. They don't really value it to begin with. This is a two-way street. You can't just be the one giving and giving and giving and giving. It leaves you feeling absolutely crazy and exhausted and hopeless. You have to, if they're not going to place value on your life to get sober for you, then it's up to you to value yourself. And placing boundaries around sex and intimacy is one of the best ways that you can start to value yourself. To not allow yourself to be hand over your body and your heart out of fear that they're going to leave you or cheat on you or get angry with you. You are stronger than that. You are better than that. You deserve way more than that. And even if you go, Michelle, I don't believe any of that. I'm not worth it. I'm not, whatever. Okay, but it still doesn't make a great relationship. And don't you want a great relationship? Isn't that why you're sticking around for so long? Because in hopes that this is actually going to get to be a great relationship? Yeah, you are. That's what you want. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this and learning how to get one. So that's not a recipe for greatness in a relationship. A recipe is healthy boundaries where you honor yourself. That's it. This is part of your growth. Is it easy? Nope, it's not. But nothing I teach is easy. Nothing I tell you is ever going to be easy. If it was, we all would be doing it, and we wouldn't have to listen to this over and over again every week, and we'd all be happy and healthy and blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't work, and that's not true for anybody. It's not just us, okay? So be kind to yourself and be loving to yourself and honor your darn self, because I honor you. I believe in you. Your body, your soul, your being, you, no matter what you look like, is worth protecting. If you don't protect your heart and your body, who will? Who will? Don't just hand it over to anybody. Have higher standards than that. Look at yourself and go, damn it. I might not necessarily believe in my soul that I'm worth it right now, but I'm going to act like it. And then I'll start to believe it. I'm going to make healthy, strong choices so that I can grow into feeling like a healthy, strong woman. Let me ask you a question. You know those women that say, and very rarely do you meet them, which is sad, but they say, like, I'm a courageous and strong woman, right? Those women that, or maybe they don't say it, maybe they just act like it. Those women that act strong and courageous and do really hard, difficult things, they don't wake up in the morning and go, oh yeah, I am strong and I am courageous. And then they believe it and they go out in the world. No, it doesn't work that way. You wake up in the morning, those women, and they feel really full of doubt. And they feel really kind of scared. And then they go about their day, and most of the choices they make, they're afraid to make, but they make courageous choices anyways. And then what happens is slowly, every day they do this over a period of time, that fear becomes smaller and smaller. And the courage, they start to count on the courage because it's working for them. And they're choosing courage every day. And then all of a sudden, the courage starts showing up more and more and more. And then they can actually one day, after months and months and months, sometimes years and years and years, look at themselves in the mirror and go, holy crap, I really am courageous. It really happened. I'm still afraid as heck. But I know that I'll always have that little fear, but I know that courage is the dominant emotion. I can count on my courage even when I'm afraid, because it hasn't failed me. It shows up. That's how you become a strong and courageous woman. That's how you start to feel like one. It doesn't happen overnight. You're not born with it. Nobody is. You develop it. You choose it. and you're being consistent. And let me tell you, the older I get, and I'm 43 years old, the more I realize the secret to everything in life is consistency, which stinks because I am not a consistent person. I love spontaneity. But I'll give you an example, and you guys can laugh at me because this has nothing to do with addiction. But I bought this little device, and I don't even know what it's called. But I'm getting older. I'm getting wrinkly. My arms, the skin on my arms is starting to fall down. Like when you flex your muscle. The arm, my arm is hanging down. When does that happen? Who the heck decided that would be a good thing? I mean, it's crazy what's happening to my body as I'm getting older. So the skin and my arm is hanging down like a bird, like a bat. And I mean, I don't work out my arms, so that's probably one reason why. Let's just be honest with each other. But I got this little device, and it's this magnetic thing, and it's probably not going to do anything. But it takes 5 minutes, and you put it on your skin with some lotion, and it sends some, I don't even know what it does, guys, but it's supposed to tighten up your arm somehow, some way. And it takes 5 minutes. And who the heck has 5 minutes when you've got as many kids and you work and you do all this stuff? Even if you don't, who wants to stand there in the mirror and do 5 minutes of this little device that you got to roll over your arm? It's torture for me. I try to listen to a podcast or watch the Golden Girls while I'm doing it to distract myself. But I've got 2 arms, so it takes 10 minutes, and you have to do it every day. And guess what? You have to be consistent, because the results don't happen when you do it just once a week, or when you remember to do it, or when you feel like doing it, or when you have the time to do it. No, you've got to be consistent with this device if you don't want flabby arms. So I'm realizing I had an epiphany, and I was like, everything is about consistency. You just have to be consistent if you want results. You do. I don't know if I'm really going to be consistent with this arm thing, because I'm like, well, I'm happily married, and I know that I don't look like Angelina Jolie, but let's be honest, my husband, who is the best man in the world, he's not looking like Brad Pitt. So why do I have to do this stuff, right? Is it really worth it? I don't know. Anyways, so consistency, guys. Consistency. That is the key. Let's be consistent with making courageous and strong choices, and we will show up and start to become courageous and strong women. And one of the ways we can do that is with our boundaries. With boundaries around intimacy. Do it. Have the courage. You deserve it. You deserve to honor your body, because I honor you. I love you. I think you're valuable. I know you're valuable. I know that you deserve to be loved and cherished the way that you want to. You actually deserve that. And it is as fulfilling to be loved and cherished as you think it is. Like, you know, you have that fantasy and you think, oh, it's going to fill my heart if they treat me this way. The answer is yes. It does fill your heart. It feels so good. It feels so loving. And the act of sex takes on a whole new meaning when you do it with somebody who really genuinely loves you and you can trust wholeheartedly and fully. It's like, it's not just about having an orgasm. It just feels like it's about your souls meeting and trust and love and forever and growing old together and your future. It's just so affirming and confirming, and it fills you. And that is truly, I think, what sex was designed to be and feel like. And you can't feel that way with someone who you don't trust, sweet peas. So please, please honor yourself, because you are worth feeling what I just described. All right. I love you. I hope you found that helpful, and I'm going to talk to you next week.
This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with Michelle's personal thoughts and beliefs. from one woman to another, bonded together by the fact we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.